Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fanfiction Tapes. I am your host this week, no Maya, only Dylan. And alongside me, we have our guest for today.
Hello.
And as always, every day out here working hard, producing content, it's producer Ian.
Hi. I think we
Amazing.
forgot to say the name of our guest, though. Hi, Barry.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Hi. Hi, Barry. Wait.
Who's
Yeah. Hi,
Barry?
me.
I don't know Barry.
Uh.
Who is he?
Yeah.
Anyway, alongside Barry, we're going to be talking about an interesting topic this week, and that is side characters. Facing this character month, we decided to go into side characters. And, like, side characters is something we all love. There's any sort of consumers of any literature or content that is, narrative based. We all like a good side character. Sometimes our favorite character is the side character because we want to rebel against the fact that protagonists are the people we're meant to like, and we go, no protagonists, we don't actually like you.
The protagonist is the pariah. We respect the side character.
Yes. Now, the first topic I want to talk about is what do we think qualifies as a side character? Because some people might say anyone not protag is side character. Of course, sometimes we have multiple protagonists or, other sort of protagonists. We have secondary and, like a third protagonist even. So
I think by the strictest definition, yeah, it would be if it's not the protagonist or the antagonist, that's a side character. But
in like a modern sense, though, we split it up a bit more, don't we? We have like here is main cast, and the main cast is usually about 3 or 4 people. You might have like the golden trio alongside the antagonist, and then you'll have the side characters or something along the lines of that. Pull one out of the hat. Like if we talk about Full Metal Alchemist, obviously. Edward Elric and Alphonse Elric. Well, Edward is the main character and the protagonist. Alphonse is still like a main character. You wouldn't call him a side character.
Yeah,
sure,
absolutely.
he's a secondary protagonist, a deuteragonist.
Yeah,
if you want to get
That's the
technical about
word.
it.
Yeah. A side character in my mind, like, you would say Roy Mustang in this example is a very developed side character. He's not the main focus, and, he's not in every episode. He isn't even a part of the main storyline all the time, but he has his own storyline, his side story that we watch.
Yeah.
You can get even further. You can go through the Full Metal Alchemist cast and get even further down the hierarchy of side characters.
Yeah.
Like,
Fullmetal Alchemist has like a million characters.
Yeah.
The side characters have side characters. So I mean,
It's
like
great.
you could consider Roy Mustang like possibly even as a tritagonist.
Yeah, that is something I would consider, yeah.
At which point he has his own supporting cast.
Which he
Yeah.
does.
some of them die, but he does have them.
Yeah.
But you always look at then like the hierarchy. I think the difference between what we think of like a side character and then like a minor character, like where does that distinction come in then? Like if we can distinguish what is a main character to a side character, how do we then distinguish a side character from a minor character? How big and or small are the roles then have to be? Like, I don't know, think of maybe the chimeras in this example. Like, do we consider them to be side or minor?
I would probably okay, so my first instinct as the distinction between a side character and a minor character. A side character has multiple scenes.
Mm-hmm.
whereas a minor character only appears in one or two. A minor character would be someone in like Full Metal Alchemist who only appears in like one episode or two episodes. That doesn't mean that a minor character can't have a large impact on the overall story. For instance, by this definition, I think Nina Tucker would be a minor character.
Mm.
Oof. But true.
Yeah, only appears in one episode in Brotherhood.
Yes.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
For
I think if I
think
recall
everyone
correctly,
will-
it runs a little longer than one episode in the original
I think it's
anime
like
adaptation.
6? I've never watched 2003, but I've
It has.
I've read
It,
the
I've-
I have,
I
but
have.
it's been a long time. I
I
can't
think-
remember if it's.
I think the Tucker arc in 2003 is 2 episodes.
2 episodes? Okay. I thought
Yeah.
it was 3. But
It- one of the adaptations is 2 episodes. I don't.
Okay.
So yeah.
I do remember that it's a lot shorter in Brotherhood, specifically because it was very well adapted in 2003.
Yeah, basically, the idea of Brotherhood, yeah.
That's kind of how Brotherhood treated all the stuff that was adapted in 2003.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, we did this well, let's do it well but quicker so we can get to all the stuff we didn't get to the last time.
Exactly.
And it's a lot better than 2003.
Especially in the back half.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, so we've qualified what we think a side character is. Side character is someone who will appear pretty frequently through the story, but is not the main character, the protagonist or the antagonist, or the deutagonist, or the tritagonist.
Or the quadragonist.
I don't
Yeah,
think
you can-
we often have quadragonists.
Yeah.
Not in your stories.
I mean,
I
can you-
suppose. I suppose
can you
that
think
depends
of
on
a
how
good
you.
quadragonist?
I guess that depends on how you characterize the girls in Ruby.
Well, I always... Okay,
Lady
let's talk about
Rhea?
Ruby. Right?
Setting you up there, Dylan.
Let's talk about Ruby. So why I say, when I talk about quadragonists and why I don't think we see many of them is because it's not good to have so many. Now, we're skipping a point here, but that's fine. When it comes to making side characters and developing a cast, we're talking about a bit grander, more than just side characters here. We're talking about how to, make a cast of characters. When you make them, you can run into an issue where you get cast bloat. And cast bloat is when you have too many characters and a lot of them are underdeveloped, or you have like a sort of too many faces, too many things, and maybe some people get too much screen time compared to others. And we get it. And Ruby, a show that we all hold very near and dear to our hearts, I assume. I do, at least.
I do.
Is a show that
still enjoy it.
I have said on multiple times has suffered from cast bloating.
Yes.
There are too many characters, too many side characters, and that makes a lot of problems for when certain things are underdeveloped. For example, we have what I would describe as our main protagonist, Ruby Rose. On her team, there's another character called Blake Belladonna. Blake is at times the tritagonist, at times the main protagonist. She has her own story at one point and is like a main focus. But the problem is these characters don't have a one-on-one conversation for like 7 seasons.
Okay, so here's Blake. Blake is my ride or die. All right, her and Penny are my favorite characters. Like,
I knew there was a reason I liked you, Barry.
thank you. Anyway,
Good taste.
I think firstly they had a one-on-one in the first volume. Well, Yang was there too, but they talked.
Yeah.
And then they had one in volume 6. So technically they only took 6 years for another one, not 7. Gotcha. fooled, wrecked. L, ratio. Secondly, you're not wrong about Ruby having cast bloat, but my personal opinion on it is that cast is proportional to the scope of the show. That's how you're supposed to do it. If you have a small setting, you're supposed to have a small cast. A big setting, a big cast. Ruby has a big setting. I don't think the problem is the amount of characters. The problem is the amount of them present all at once that causes problems with screen time and development.
Yeah, that is true.
That's why I advocate for not removing characters, but instead writing them better in like fanfics and reworks and stuff.
And that is something, yeah.
That's because I think every character has a story to tell, but because of the way they're all put together, they just can't. And that kind of kills at least the pacing of the show in a few places.
Yeah, I will say that. The thing I always go about is that the philosophy of Ruby is, you know how we talk that in usual writing, things come in threes. That's how we talk about usual things, Everything comes in threes. With Ruby, characters come in fours, and that's a big number. So, like when we talk about that, it's like, okay, we have 4 kingdoms, 4 things, 4, and our teams are made up of 4 people. And when you do that, it's like, okay, here's our main team. Okay, our side team also has 4 people. And then our third most important team that we initially thought was going to be our third most important team has 4 people. But this other team we made has 4 people. And then the cash gets expended. Like, if we look by the end of, like, volume 3 even, we're already juggling a lot. And, like, certain characters are just, like they're side characters because they appear in multiple episodes, but they say, like, one word a season. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At volume 3, like, I'm a nerd. I can name the teams, but if you ask me to remember like which ones are important, I'd say 2, maybe 3. Like, because there's Ruby, Juniper, Coffee, Cardinal, like occasionally. Then there's Indigo, Bronze, the other one.
You didn't even say Sun.
Yeah.
Auburn, Sun, that's another one. Then you have all the Beacon staff. All Ironwood, Crow, Winter, Penny, except she dies, and then never mind. Then you have Ciel, who she's a minor character. She only shows up once. Never mind. Then there's Funky, which we didn't see 2 of their members until 7. And that's
those two members only appeared in like 1 episode.
I don't think either of them even had lines, but you get the point.
I think one of them had like 1 line.
Yeah. The point is, you're right. Volume 3 was juggling a lot. And I just wanted to get more specific with it, because when we say we're juggling a lot, we don't just mean like, oh, there's like 16 characters taking up screen time. I mean, in terms of characters who have been named, there's about 40.
Yeah.
And sure, like, half of them are in the background, but we still know them ostensibly. So, like, the focus is on Ruby. Then we have Coffee, Sun, and Juniper all doing their thing. Then we have, all these other teams in the back. And then it's like, okay, I can kind of roll with this. Then we have Ozpin. Then we have Glinda. That whole thing's going down. Don't get me started on the villains. It's like, okay, this is a lot. I'm trying to keep track of all this stuff, and it's a lot.
Yeah, and then arguably the best moments in Ruby is when they cut the cast bloat. That I'll say, like, early volume 6, when they separate and only have 8 characters be your focus and like 2 others in a different story. That's great.
Yeah.
And
or now with volume 9, there's Ruby, there's Little the Mouse, and then there's a bunch of kooky characters. And Neo's there too, I guess. But like the point, And this is some of the best character writing they've had. So, like, clearly they know how to write good characters. It's just that they overstep on how many they think they can include, and it leads to problems.
And it also becomes like when you have a show that, like, one season you introduce this minor side character who's like, he's just in the background. He doesn't do much. He's just a body, filling it. He's filling time. He's filling the scene. But then that character over the course of the series, he says something funny once, and everyone is like in the off season, like, "Oh, haha, he's great. Let's give him more." And then it's like, "Oh no, this character's taking a life out of his own, and he has to get more." And then other things underdeveloped, and you're just like screaming at your computer screen. And there's too many. Yeah. There's too much. Everything's too much. Calm it down.
I think that is a issue that comes up from the particular way that Rooster Teeth interacts with its fandom compared to like other media companies. Like their history is red versus blue, which is Halo, Machinima, and very not serious, and they have developed from that a lot of close interaction with their audience. So they're used to doing that. They're used to interacting with their audience, and I think that's carried over into RWBY a bit. Like part of the cast bloat in Volume 3, when they had the tournament arc and decided to include these various other teams, like the Sun versus Indigo episode, Team Indigo were all based off of fans who had like won a lottery at RTX or something like that. That was the only reason that team existed.
Yeah, basically.
Not to continue to harp on about RWBY, let me talk about another series that I don't think suffers from cast bloat, but has cast bloat. So there's a difference between like suffering and it actively hurts your story, and more, this is just a thing that exists and you have too many characters, but I don't think the story is hurting because of it. Have either of you interacted with My Hero Academia at all?
I know it exists. I've been meaning to watch it through, but like I'm bad with watching stuff through.
I haven't kept up with it since the last time I watched it was what's his name? The Gentle, the dude who
so season 5.
Yeah.
I think I know what you mean though, because like I look at My Hero stuff occasionally, and like there's a lot of them.
So My Hero, let me start out. Let me give you the example. So immediately you have class 1A. That's 20 characters. You have class 1B. That's 20 characters. You have all the faculty. You have pro heroes. You have other students in the school. You have the bad guys, the other bad guys, the third bad guy, the lone wolf bad guy. Mm-hmm. So, of course, My Hero has a lot more episodes than RWBY. So that helps them immensely. And what they do is they sort of establish a hierarchy of side characters. So I would describe that My Hero has a protagonist, a deuteragonist, and a tritagonist. And they are sort of the main focus. But then, you have sort of within like certain levels, a sort of the tiering system. Let's say you are a part of the next tier of important side characters, and then you, and then you, and you, and you go down. And I think that works a lot better, where you acknowledge this character exists, they're in the story, they're here to fill numbers, but they won't necessarily ever get that big story or big important moment. They'll get minor victories because they're in the cast, but yeah, they're just here to be here. And I think that's a lot easier when you put limitations on what a character does. You know, you'll say, this character will, never do more than what I intend them to do. You have that character, and they're purely there just to be there. And sometimes that's good. Not everyone needs, to be developed and have a backstory, that is very complicated and integral to the story. Sometimes you go, this guy has a bird head.
I too love Thoth, the Egyptian god of knowledge.
But yeah, that's why I think of Castbloat. Like, controversially, I say if I were to make something Ruby, I would, take out like half the cast, even the main cast. I'm just like, I take it to the chalkboard. I get wild. I get weird.
You should have aimed for the head.
I think you've gone on record before stating that you would cut Blake and Yang.
I would. I would turn it in.
Bumblebee sick.
No. I not because they're gay. Because I would then make it a. I would make it a Weiss Pyrrha Ruby try slash fanfic. Okay.
I mean,
so
based.
Yes.
I recall
honestly though.
Giving you. I recall giving you shit for this because you were like, "I want to take out these characters."
Yeah,
just write them better.
Because it's a lot of effort to write them better. Sometimes you just want to write a story and not deal with the 50 other stories. Let's talk about a different show or a different thing.
Oh! Speaking of shows that are notorious for cast bloat, have either of you seen Bleach?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah.
I think that's
gonna carbon date myself on record, but I think Bleach is one of the first anime that I actually ever got into. Not quite while it was airing, but like right after. I am an old.
you're Toonami classic.
Yeah. Oh no, I didn't watch it on Toonami. I watched Dragon Ball Z on Toonami.
There you go.
No, I sailed the high seas.
Ooh. Based.
Yeah. Anyways, that is a show that has a huge amount of cast bloat, and as I recall, it's in large part due to the mangaka had a habit of designing new characters to deal with writer's block.
Oh, that can get out of hand fast.
Yeah.
Is it wrong that I think that's a good idea?
Yeah, that's bad, Barry.
Okay, if you say so.
Another thing is when we talk about cast bloat, I think late season Game of Thrones suffers from cast bloat.
Which is ironic considering how many of them die.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you have a cast that is all in separate stories, and in these hour-long shows, 10 episodes, you get like 10 to 11 hours of content out of them.
Mm-hmm.
When you bring them all together and you suddenly you only have, 6 episodes, and it's like trying to fit them all, and the world feels a lot smaller. It's just indicative of the writing of late stage Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It's all bad.
I've said before, Game of Thrones is trying to adapt a story about systems and tell a story about people. Yeah.
Ultimately, the idea of A Song of Ice and Fire is to explore monarchy, duty, where power truly is. That is the question posed. Does a guy kill the mercenary and the priest and the king, or the king and the mercenary? Who does he fight for? It's where he believes the power is. Is in God, money, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm butchering that, but that's fine. But yeah, late stage Game of Thrones does suffer from this, and it's also the fact that certain main characters like Jon Snow and Sansa Stark and Arya Stark, their stories like sort of end, but then don't.
Yeah, and then you end up with the situation where these other protagonists, the other main characters, their stories have ended and they've merged into the others' storyline, and they suddenly are side characters.
Yeah, like, and like if we look at like Sansa Stark, for example, whatever I think of her story after season 4, her story in season 5 and 6 ends at season 6. As does Arya's. I think the stories told in 5 and 6 are both dog. They are dog poop. But they are stories and they end. And then they make up this moronic story in season 7 where Littlefinger is trying to Littlefinger Arya and Sansa against one another. And
Don't put it like that.
That's his character.
Phrasing.
That's his character name, okay? It's Game of Thrones. Are we
I
really
know.
that worried about incest?
I don't
wasn't.
think. I think the phrasing there implies more molestation.
Littlefinger, Sansa, and Arya. I mean,
That's his name, Peter Baelish. He comes
Well,
from the
I know,
fingers, and he is small. His
I know.
nickname is Littlefinger.
I know his name is Dan
We know this.
Littlefinger.
Anyone
cut out the
who
little, but you cut out the little, and it sounds like you're saying finger, Sansa, and Arya.
Well, you're just perverted.
You're perverted.
I wasn't the one who brought it up.
Yes.
No, I just said it, and then you were like, semantics. Okay. So, what kind of side characters do we like?
Oh wow. Okay, change the subject. Okay, tons. Jesus. I'm trying to think though, because like I need to narrow it down to actually talk about them. Ooh, I'm really into a game right now, and I would love to talk about that. So, have either of y'all played Hi-Fi Rush?
Nope.
Really? Oh. Okay.
You think I'm some sort of gamer?
I mean, okay. Well, in Hi-Fi Rush, the main characters are this resistance group against a despotic robot corporation, basically.
I like it.
Yeah. And the main protagonist is this cringe fail moron rock star wannabe with a heart of gold named Chai. All the characters named after food and drinks. Roll with it. And with him are, I guess they're also main characters, but they play a side character role to his growth. It's weird. And they're the other members of this group. Like you have the leader of the group, Peppermint. You have the shy giant Macaron, and you have a therapy bot named Cinnamon. And I like them. There's the villains, I like them. Well, the main antagonist is a guy named Kale, but he has like side character buddies. I like them. And the whole game is just really charming and beautiful. So when I think side characters I like, the, I guess, topical thing I can say about it is the side characters in Hi-Fi Rush.
Coolio.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of like sort of types of side characters I like, I always like the side character that is far superior to the protagonist in every single way.
Oh, you also meant types. Oh, shit.
I mean, any type of side characters.
Types of side characters. I like ones where it's clear their story is still important to them, even if it doesn't, like, cross into the main story too often. Like, circling back to Ruby, some of these side characters have their own lives going on. That's why they come in or dip out of the story. But it only occasionally interrupts the story that's being told, I guess is the way I want to phrase that.
Hmm. For me, if I okay, go ahead.
Like, let me think. Ilya, Blake's lesbian chameleon friend. I say
Mm-hmm.
that because I know a guy who will forget her. Tap. She has her own arc going on. She comes into the story like in the middle of that, and when she leaves in volume 6, that arc is finished, but it feels like a side piece to Blake's arc anyway. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I loved Ilya's femcell arc. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, Ilya's fun. I wish we got more of her.
Too
But
much
then
gay. No, Texas. Texas moment.
real Texas hours.
Oh, true Texas I was. Yeah, for me, as I was saying, like any sort of character that is like just way better than the protagonist. Levi Ackerman from Attack on Titan, who totally roasts Aaron, deservedly. I love Levi, such a Levi fanboy. Best
Cough,
character.
cough. Shadow the Hedgehog.
Is Shadow Shadow is just like an edgy Sonic though. He's not better than Sonic.
Yeah, but you forget he has a far more powerful ability than Sonic can ever have. A gun.
America moment. This is like taking candy from a baby, which I have no problem with. Shadow the
No,
Hedgehog.
the line is, which is fine by me. And then he smashes the glass, takes the emerald, and has a flashback. I played too much Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah, you did. Ian, is there any side character type, some archetype you really enjoy?
There's two things that come to mind for me. I have any character that's snarky. Like this has come up with the protagonist before, but I do like also snarky side characters like Wit from the Stormlight Archives.
Oh, they just like me, for real, for real.
Hmm. I also like any character that is hyper competent in a specific way. Like Steris in Mistborn Era 2. The scene in which one is it? Bands of Mourning, I think. Spoilers for Bands of Mourning, where they have to leave the hotel in a hurry, and she has provided the receptionist with a full list of things that might go wrong. And as they're leaving, she shouts back over her shoulder the exact situation that they're in and the page that it's on. And then her
That
competence.
sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a hilarious scene. Her competence shows even more at the end of the 4th book, which has come out very recently, so I don't want to go too much into spoilers there.
Just put a massive spoiler warning.
Yeah.
Air raid sirens.
Spoiler warning. Woo!
This is a recognized spoiler warning.
Spoilers, dude. There's a basically a bomb is about to go off in the harbor and flood the capital city. And because Steris plans for everything, she is able to, and also has high social status. She is able to talk to the governor, who puts her in charge of the emergency preparations, and she is able to save like all of the residents of the capital.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Ian, you were talking about like very highly competent in like sort of a specific situation type thing, right?
Yes.
Have you like ever had any interaction with Chainsaw Man?
Only through hounds.
So there
I said the
is
funny meme edit earlier.
there is a character called Kobeni. She is a
Oh my
side
god,
character.
I love her.
Kobeni is a total failure in everything she does, except she is an amazing stealth sort of ninja assassin.
Huh.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
she wields a knife like no one else. But besides that, she's a total girl failure.
When
Okay.
Dylan says total girl failure, he doesn't just mean socially awkward. Like, you have to understand, Kobeni is a total girl failure. Like,
Fujimoto, the mangaka of Chainsaw Man, writes amazing girl failures. I love it.
yes.
Man, I'll have to.
She
Boy.
has the spine of a wet glob of cement.
Okay. Okay.
But can still kill you with a knife.
Yes.
Man, if only Hounds didn't talk about this show so much. I might watch
Right?
it.
He talks about Chainsaw Man and Nobara from Jujutsu Kaisen. That's it. His whole personality is either Chainsaw Man or Nobara.
I know. I probably wouldn't watch JJK either if I hadn't actually already watched it before he started talking about it. Anyways, enough of the Hound slanders. So Steris is one of my favorite side characters from hypercompetent side characters from Mistborn Era 2. Oh, how about the Locked Tomb? We haven't brought that up yet this episode.
Oh, Maya isn't here to nerd out with you, unfortunately.
Yeah, no.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. Read the Locked Tomb, you guys. It's good.
I will want to become literate. I told you this. We've established in previous episodes that Dylan is illiterate.
Yes.
Oof.
Ianthe. Favorite side character from Gideon the Ninth.
Mm-hmm. What is their specific talent? It's unique to them.
I think she falls into the another type of character that I like, which is entertainingly horrible person.
Ooh, I love those.
But she is also definitely in the universe of the Locked Tomb. She is definitely one of in the top 3 for greatest necromancers of her generation. Again, spoilers for Gideon the Ninth. Ianthe is one of 2 twin sisters. And she and her sister are officially both necromancers and heirs to the 3rd house. Her sister Corona is not actually a necromancer. Ianthe has been pretending to be 2 necromancers for her entire life and has been getting away with it.
Whoa.
Even the military intelligence thinks that Corona is also a necromancer. And
That's,
Ianthe
impressive.
yeah. Ianthe is also the first one to fully put together and apply the principles of becoming a lictor, which is in the plot of Gideon the Ninth. The reason that all of the heirs of the houses are brought together is because the emperor is wanting more lictors, who are basically super powerful immortal necromancers. There are a series of experiments that basically the necromancers who have come together to become lictors have to reverse engineer the process with. And we see our protagonist Harrow go through, well, Gideon, deuteragonist in Gideon the Ninth, really, Harrow. Harrow and Gideon go through a few of these experiments, lictoral trials, and we see that Ianthe never goes through any of them. She just watches everyone else do it. And she's the first one to actually become a lictor. So
Wow.
she's smart and strong, but she is lazy and spiteful.
Interesting.
I
Barry,
do like that.
Barry, I
Yes.
have a proposition for you to take over this
Okay.
podcast. Something both very near and dear to your heart and mine. Let's talk about the greatest side characters in all of creative mediums.
Okay.
Let's talk about pro wrestlers who aren't the top champion.
Yes.
Oh.
You're gonna have to. Oh my god. I've
So
been
let's
waiting
talk
for this.
about the greatest wrestling storyline currently of this generation.
Yes.
Ongoing. We're on the road to WrestleMania. A few weeks
Uh-huh.
away. Time of recording. Let's talk about the Bloodline.
Yes. Oh my god, the bloodline is amazing right
So listen to this.
I'm all ears.
So we have Roman Reigns. Okay. He wins the WWE. No, it's the Universal title he wins first. This is summer of pandemic 2020. And he has held that title since the summer of 2020. It is
Yes.
now 2023.
now.
He's held it for 900 days, which is like a modern record.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't think he's lost clean since 2019.
Do you know
Well,
who the
so-
last guy to beat him was? The last guy to pin him?
It's on the tip of my tongue.
It's my boy Baron Corbin.
Yes, it's Baron Corbin.
Irrelevant. But anyway,
Okay, but-
the Bloodline storyline. So Roman Reigns wins that title. Not long after, he has to fight one of his cousins, and his cousins are twins. They're an accomplished tag team called the Usos, and he
Yep,
has
Jimmy
to
and
fight.
Jay.
Yeah, and he has to fight one of his cousins. And he has a feud with him, and the entire feud is based around making his cousin acknowledge him as the head of the family, the head of the table.
The
Not
tribal
just that,
chief.
yeah, not just that he beat him and kept his title. He wants to break his cousin down and get him under his thumb and say, "You are my tribal chief. You are the head of the table." Does that. At the same time, we have a Canadian of Syrian descent called Sami Zayn.
Yes.
And Sami Zayn is a conspiracy theorist who thinks the entire WWE is against him.
Also, yes. It's
So-
amazing.
And so what does he do? After fighting at WrestleMania, Johnny Knoxville, deadass,
Deadass.
he decides,
That's
Why
not even
I'm
the
gonna-
only match Johnny Knoxville's had.
nope, but he decides the best course of action is to saddle his ass up to the Bloodline, which is Roman Reigns and his cousins, the Usos. So he starts following him around, trying to, ingratiate himself, get into the Bloodline, become an honorary, I can't say that word because,
Honorary?
there we go. An honorary Uso. There we go. I did it. And guess what? He does. He helps
Yep.
Roman. They win the big War Games match, which is
Yep.
it was a 4-on-4, 5-on-5, but there's 2 cages and 2 rings, and they won it. And
Yeah.
he gets inducted into. He's in the group.
He gets Usi with it.
Ian, he's in the group.
He gets Usi.
Okay.
And Roman wasn't very Usi. He became Usi. Anyway, and then at the Royal Rumble in this January, who's Roman Reigns facing for the title? Ian, he's
I don't
facing
know. Who's he facing?
Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn's former best friend.
Yes.
Oh.
So At the end of it all, Roman standing tall, and he's about to lay the smackdown on Kevin Owens' candy ass, right? But he wants Sammy to do it. Sammy has the chair. He stands behind Roman, and he hits the tribal chief in the back with it.
And then, when Sammy was getting inducted into the bloodline, one of the Usos, I believe, which one is supportive and which one isn't? I believe
Jay likes him, Jimmy does not.
Yeah. So, Jay was very not on board. Right? But then Sammy gained his trust, he earned his trust. And then after that, Roman is like, the other members of Roman's family attack Sammy after he hit him in the back. But Jay doesn't join in. He just walks away. Because he's grew to like Sammy. And he's breaking out. He was the guy who Roman first put under his thumb. And now he's breaking away.
Yep.
It's so good.
And then it continued to build until the next month's pay-per-view, Elimination Chamber, which is a pay-per-view about Elimination Chamber matches, which is a whole thing on its own. Basically, it's six dudes. It's 6 dudes in a hell cage. Don't worry about it. And then what is the main event? Sammy in Montreal facing Roman himself.
And Sammy is from where? Montreal.
And it, by the way, it was not only the best match of the night, but possibly of the month. It was amazing.
And in the end, Roman beat Sammy.
Yes.
And then Kevin Owens came out, though, and saved Sammy from a beatdown after the match.
Yeah.
And now, Roman and Sammy aren't going to fight again at WrestleMania. Roman's got his own problem to deal with, called Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare. But
he's a blonde-haired little shit, and I love him.
But what Sami Zayn has done is he's broken Roman. He's broken his family. He's broken Roman's sort of authoritarian rule over his family. And in the end, even if Cody Rhodes is the man who beats Roman Reigns for the title, it's because of Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is the side character who's broken the main antagonist, the main bad guy, the guy we followed as champion for nearly 3 years. He's the guy who broke it by being a weird conspiracy theorist.
Yep. And to put this into perspective, the Usos are not only Roman's real family, they're actually his cousins, but Roman's whole family, they're wrestlers. Roman is legitimately 3rd or 4th generation wrestler. His family is so important that it's led to a saying amongst WWE fans that if they're the son of a wrestler, if they're the son of a Samoan wrestler, they're probably going to be a Samoan wrestler. And some dude Canada slipped in, gained their trust, and then chose his morals over that family and crunched it down into just pieces. It's such good storytelling.
I'm going to just show you. Their family is so big and important in wrestling. There's a Wikipedia page about it. I've just sent it into our chat.
Yep, the Anawahi.
Anoa'i.
Yeah, they are an American Samoa family and related through sort of a blood brothership is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, even. So that's how big this family is.
They're not blood related, but Roman's dad and The Rock's dad are tight, and so The Rock is basically a part of the family.
I see.
Yeah, and some dude from Canada turned that into a circus. It's amazing.
This weird ginger of Syrian descent from Montreal. He's the guy who breaks it.
Sammy legitimately looks like if a hipster did bodybuilding.
Let me get a picture of Sami Zayn up for Ian here. Here we go, Ian. This is Sami Zayn.
Okay, he does look like someone who should be ranting in front of a corkboard covered in red string.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And he's the guy who broke the unbeatable, guy who's gone on. He's beaten so many people. He beat Edge. He beat Daniel Bryan. He beat Cesaro.
All those names are important.
Yeah, he beat Drew McIntyre in Cardiff in
Very
a hostile environment. I was in the crowd. We were so angry. He's beaten Kevin Owens multiple times. He's beaten Brock Lesnar.
And he is not related at all to American Fast Wrestler El Generico.
No. El Generico's running an orphanage. Don't worry about it. But yeah, like all this. And this guy, this dude right here, he's the one who ruins it. Sami Zayn. And everyone listening who's not wrestling fans, you watch WrestleMania. When it comes now, you will see some of the greatest video packages of all time recap this story way better than we did. And you should watch it.
It's breathtaking.
It's so good. We should do more wrestling episodes.
Yes,
but
please. Just me and Dylan talking shit about Hulk Hogan for an hour. I want this.
Don't get me started on him. Do not get me started on Terry Bollea.
Please, no.
Do we need to spin you off your own podcast for this?
Oh God, the wrestling podcast industry though, it's oversaturated.
You're gonna have to compete with Deadlock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all right. I'll stick to this place. But yeah, we'll. What we're trying to say is like that is a perfect side character. He dismantled that. Like Sammy wasn't the protagonist. He was a guy who grew and became this guy and dismantled the antagonists of this company. And all the while, building in the background was the protagonist, Cody Rhodes, who, he's the guy. He's the guy who brings in the business. But Sammy's the guy in the story who was important for all this to happen,
Yep.
And it's just magical. It's something we've never really seen in wrestling. Is a freer storyline with the acting as well. Let's just say the acting is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, especially like Jey Uso's like inner conflict. It shows so well.
Yeah, everyone plays their roles perfectly, and this is the most hype I've been about WWE in a long time.
Same.
And I think that's the perfect way to write a side character is, take your side character, have him go from crazy conspiracy theorist to taking down a tyrannical government. It's perfect.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need one ginger kid to destroy an entire Samoan family's confidence in themselves.
But yeah, is there like sort of any advice you guys would have for writing side characters?
Well, and I need to get on my my professional specs here. They're the same as my normal specs, so it's not going to take very long. When writing a side character, I think it's important to not consider them worthless. A side character is still a character. They still can have their own story and their own goals, and they can even dominate an episode or a storyline in some cases. But you need to treat them like that. You can't have a side character get pushed into the background just because they're side characters. And you can't have a side character like become the main focus halfway through because that's unsatisfying. There's a balance to side characters, I think, and it's best to toe that line.
I think my advice that I would always give when it comes to writing a side character is be very conscious of what you believe their purpose is. Of course, throughout writing and based on reaction, if you're writing a fanfic and people are really enjoying this one character who you initially thought a minor role of, you might want to imagine a greater role. But don't artificially, let things get out of control too much. Like, in the Sami Zayn instance, some people wanted Sami to win the entire thing. But that would not be right for the story. So don't ever think that because this character is the most popular, that they get to do the big thing. You know what I'm saying? You guys ever see that where it's like, someone might not be the most popular, like when you have like a protagonist who isn't like hitting on all cylinders, sometimes you say, okay, let's have the side character do the big thing. But that's not always great. It depends on like the level of side character and what they're meant to do. But if you have two similar ones and one is the protagonist and one is the side character and they both around the same level, try and make your protagonist make them the protagonist. They are your protagonist, so make them do protagonist things.
Yeah. So for like an example of my thing, we can go back to wrestling. The mid-card talent, so the guys in the middle of the shows, they are side characters, technically, in terms of the overarching plot that is the main event. And they are popular. They're important. They have their own feuds going on. But they're not so much side characters that you can forget them. And they haven't ascended so much to character that they overwrite all the progress you've made on that division. So, you understand what I mean?
Yeah, completely. Ian, is there any advice you would have for writing a side character?
I haven't done a whole lot of writing, so there's not like much experience I can draw on here other than...
Well, what do you like to see from side characters usually? When reading or watching something, what makes you like a side character and what might turn you off? Something you would like people to avoid. Like, side characters you kind of dislike and go, I would have rathered if this guy wasn't around.
Don't make them annoying.
That is something. Don't make them a pervert.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make a side character a pervert, to make them endearing. not a... Oh. Everyone who watches My Hero Academia knows.
That is a good point there. Great boy. A little too far on that, on the pervert dial on that one.
Yeah, also, it's a bit more advice too. What I like to see is side characters who... I guess I already described this earlier. It's side characters who still matter, I think is the main thing I'm trying to get at. And that would be my advice. They're not minor characters. They need to matter, but they're not main characters. You can't have them take all the credit.
Well, I think we've had a great discussion about our main topics this week. Of course, we're coming towards the end here now, so let's talk about our mailbag. Ian, have we received anything yet?
It's still empty. So if you listening have anything that you want to tell us, please shoot us an email at fanfictapes@gmail.com. Leave us a comment on the YouTube version of the episodes. And you can also tweet us at fanfictiontapes on Twitter. Maya normally monitors our Twitter, so I don't think she didn't leave us anything from the Twitter for the episode this week. You can also leave us reviews and ratings on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I know Spotify doesn't let you leave a written review, but Apple Podcasts does. So even if you do mostly listen to us on Spotify, if you can, pop over to Apple, leave us a rating there. All of that helps us expand our audience, get us more listeners.
Amazing. And for our prompt podcast/challenge. Well, this week, obviously, and we're talking about side characters, so find your favorite side character out of any you have ever read or watched, and write a little story where, for once, they're the main focus. They are the protag. So, turn your side into a protag. So, I have been your host, the best host, the host who does it not really the most, Dylan, alongside our guest.
I've been Barry, socially awkward as ever.
And our producer.
I've been Ian. Bye.